You're listening to 1680 WOKB AM, Winter Garden, Florida.
This is your host, Jay Real from Real Family Talk. We are here live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is Hump Day. Listen to the show and enjoy your Wednesday night.
Gospel 1680 WOKB, your urban empowerment and inspiration station.
We are the pulse. Without a pulse, you're dead.
We are the heart and soul of the community. Gospel 1680 AM.
Welcome to another edition of Real Family Talk. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Real Family Talk. This is your host, Jay Real. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday evening out there. Another beautiful day in the city, beautiful here. Let's go ahead and welcome everybody that's in the building with me right now. Jeremy's in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing all right, sir. And a guest that I haven't seen in a while, but she's here today. Miss Jasmine Burney's in the building as well. How you doing, Jasmine?
I'm well. How are you all doing this evening?
We are wonderful.
Great.
We are wonderful, man. We're going to talk to Miss Burney tonight. She's going to bring in some topics related to the political scene. And after that, we're going to get into some issues. We've been talking about women all month. And tonight we're going to talk about feminism, the black female and feminism, whether they've been left out or why they've been left out. We're going to get into some of those issues. Remember, you can give us a call. 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. Before we get there, just a couple of news stories I wanted to point out. I saw one the other day. This is the video is old, but it has to do with a case in Dallas. Another black man getting shot. I don't know if you heard about this one, but they released a video the other day. The mother calls the police because she has a son who is bipolar and schizophrenic, and so calls police, I guess, because she's trying to get some help with him. So the police come. They knock on the door. The mother answers the door. Okay, she's calm. You know, she's not irate. You know, she's politely, hey, how y'all doing? You know, then the son comes up after her, and the son, for whatever reason, has a, a screwdriver in his hand. And so it goes from, hey, sir, can you put the screwdriver down, to pop, 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 pop. In about, I don't know, what seems on the video, less than 10 to 15 seconds it's kind of what seems like passes by on the video. And this is all right in front of the house that the mom just answered the door. Older black lady. She's still standing there. And like I said, he had a screwdriver. They asked him to put it down. Apparently he did not put it down. And within seconds, the man was dead. What blew me away about the video is, okay, I get that potentially a screwdriver can be used as a weapon. But under the circumstances, this is a lady who answered the door politely, let you enter her home to, you know, deal with whatever issues she was having with her son. I believe she was trying to get him to go to some kind of facility or something like that, if I remember right from the article. But even still, it wasn't like the son came to the door and was cussing them out or was irate. You know, he seemed to politely come to the door, granted with a screwdriver in his hand, but it was... it wasn't like a crazy situation, but yet it turned into a death, and now the family is getting ready to sue the police department. This is footage that they actually got from the officer was wearing a camera, so this is the footage from the camera of the officer that they were releasing. Like I said, this happened about a year ago now, but I just blows my mind. We talk about brothers being irate and not addressing the police correctly, and then that leading to their untimely death. But here we have a situation where, quote unquote, let's remove the screwdriver from his hand. I mean, in all intents and purposes, he was calm, cool, and collected, relative to what we at least saw in the video. Mm-hmm. But yet it still ends up in death.
So I saw the video this week also, and I was mortified after watching it a few times. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And when I saw him come to the door, when the mother walks out the door, the son is behind her and comes to the door, stops, and asks officers, how can I help you? Has a screwdriver in his hand. Why would you answer the door with a screwdriver?
Well, remember, he's bipolar and schizophrenic.
I get it, but he
So
knows
he's not in
it's
his
almost
right
like
mind.
it's almost like he brought his sort of armor of protection with him to the door.
A screwdriver.
A screwdriver.
Come on now.
Well, that could be his mentality, the mental space that he's in. A screwdriver may be
been
something that he
fixing
felt
something.
like. That could have been a possibility also, but obviously there was an issue enough to where the mother called the police to either have them come take him and place him in a facility or handle him in some sort of manner. But
that's still
the
excessive
video,
force.
based on where the video, when they ask him to put the screwdriver down, the video camera turns, and we don't know if he's charging at the police officers.
Right.
We don't know what's happening. They just say, "Sir," and it keeps heightening. The voice keeps getting louder and louder. "Sir, put the screwdriver down. Put the screwdriver." Almost like he is charging, but we don't see it. And they unfortunately shoot and kill this man. I feel like there were ways that they could have restrained him. They didn't have to shoot him. He only had a screwdriver in his hand. But he's bipolar, and we don't know what he was capable of doing. We've seen videos where people have been strung out on drugs without a weapon in their hand, and they've been able to do miraculous things.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know. It's all just unfortunate.
I mean, they have mace, they have tasers, they have a lot of other resources on that Batman utility belt that all police officers have. Why was the gun the first thing you thought of when they had a screwdriver? I'm sure the taser is used for situations like that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the pepper spray, the mace, the billy club, whatever. I mean, but the gun, you didn't have to shoot the man. Like, that's the part that kind of got me. It's kind of like, everybody's trigger happy now. They just want to shoot somebody. I just want to use my weapon. I have it here for a reason, and I want to use it. And I think it was excessive force, in my opinion.
Got anything to say, Jeremy?
I don't know what to think. I mean, Brother King mentioned this probably a few months ago last year when a lot of this stuff stopped really coming to the forefront. But it's like, are they forgetting they have a taser? Because it seems that some of these situations can be resolved with the taser, or even with, especially you have a taser and you have a handful of officers on scene, you would think restraint could be used to some extent. It's like, why is why are a lot of officers resorting straight to their firearm?
The more and more I learn and read about these stories in different states and places in the United States, I am learning that each state has different laws, protocols, or processes on how they handle certain situations. Mm-hmm. Even some states who have officers who carry tasers and who do not carry tasers. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like it would have been the probable thing to do in that particular instance, but we don't know if that's something they had access to.
They had billy
But
clubs.
correct, and I was getting ready to say, but they do have billy clubs that we all know all officers have, no matter what. That's a universal, object that they do have, and they have the ability to use that. But each state, the laws are different. How they choose to handle each situation is different, and this is how their state makes these laws on how they choose to react to different situations.
Well, let's blame the state for choosing these officers that are punks, that are wimps, that don't know how to disarm a man. It's 5 of y'all and one dude with a screwdriver. Y'all can't beat his tail? Like, you got to pull out a gun? Like, seriously, you was a punk. And your state should not be hiring wimps and punks like that.
It's not that they're hiring. They've given them a law that allows them to do that.
Well, not even two. You have to remember, the police force is voluntary, so you sign up. Mm-hmm. Nobody. I'm sure there's a background check, but there's no background check on your attitude toward people. Mm-hmm. That's that
right.
We find that out when your attitude is is needed, or when you encounter a situation, I should say. So,
but it's crazy because then it makes me wonder, like, what. Because they have to do a psych exam. They have those different things they have to do. So it's almost like, I don't know what the training is, so I can't criticize. So they should be doing this, should be doing that. But it was like, I would say you would think they would kind of try to, maybe not. Well, let me give you maybe a bad example. You remember the movie Major Payne? All right. Okay. Remember when he got out of the Army, they retired him, and he said he go apply for the police force, right? And they had him in a room, and they simulated him go to a domestic violence situation. So it's like, I don't know, do they do that? I mean, I know it's not going to be the same, but it's like, I don't know. Do they do that, or should they be doing that, or should they try to put them in a set, or at least push them to an extent to see how they react when they get angry?
Well, I imagine as a part of the training, you go through scenarios, right? I mean, they do that in the military. They give you scenarios as part of your training. So I'd imagine they do that, but of course, I mean, there's nothing.
Training in real life going to be too different.
The training and
that is
the actual
true, but
experience are going to be, I think, completely different. So I don't know that.
But I will say
Hopefully
this though,
not completely different.
There are different. But what I'm saying is, pushing somebody to, if you can, find their buttons to push to get them angry to see how they react in anger, because that's going to tell you something.
I mean, but still, it's multiple officers and one person with a screwdriver. Y'all ain't got no hands. I know all officers learn the chokehold, and they learn different maneuvers where they don't have to use their weapon. And I think that they should be training these officers. The gun is the last resort. That's the resort where if it's no other way, then I have to pull out the gun. Because the first thing they do is snap it and pull it out. It's not a resort to, okay, well, let me think of a split second. I got a decision. He got a screwdriver. Okay, I got a billy club. That should have been the thought, not, oh, he got a screwdriver, let me pull out my gun. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. They're not training them how to think, or I don't know, but the training is not correct. It's not working at all.
Yeah, I would say that would be the biggest thing.
Right,
and not to be
and the thing that as they all say in these situations, they fear for their lives, and so since they fear for their lives,
multiple officers fear for their lives with one man with a screwdriver. That's what I'm trying to say. All of them should be.
Again,
punished.
I said when the person with the body camera turned, the police officer's voice continued to get higher and higher and more stern. We don't know what that man was doing in that instance.
It was more than one officer, and they couldn't handle whatever. Did he pull out a gun?
That's what we don't know.
So then, what's the point of having the body cam?
Well, it's there to help, but as we saw with the Eric Garner case, it's not necessarily going to give you a picture to exonerate the officer or anything like that. But it's a piece of evidence that helps you to determine what was right or wrong. But that's what it is. It's just a piece of that puzzle that perhaps wouldn't have been there in footage. But it's not going to be, as we saw with the Eric Garner case, the end-all, be-all to say, yes, he's guilty or whatever the case may be. It's just going to be another piece to the puzzle to help determine what should or should not happen. But like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, when you respond to a situation where you have a mental patient, to me that's a situation that is expected that has some bumpiness, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. But again, that's probably why you showed up 3 or 4 deep, at least from the office. I think there was at least 3 people in the video that could be seen, and so you would think, just logically, that there would be a way to handle him with the screwdriver, at least initially, without necessarily pulling out guns within 10 to 15 seconds. But hey, man, we'll see what happens with the case. We'll see what happens with the family's case, and go from there. It's just it's just another. We're just getting that perpetual cycle now. Every week we have. It seems like there's a new video every week. There's a new situation, and unfortunately, what we don't see is what is changing to begin to prevent these situations from escalating the way that they are. And we continue having discussions. I know there was a discussion, I believe, this week that happened just here in the city of Orlando related to police and violence. But again, we just haven't seen that immediate, here's the change, here's what's going to be different to help prevent this situation moving forward. And that's the unfortunate part. I mean, we know what the situation is. We see it happening. We know discussions are being had, but what is changing? And hopefully that does actually change here in the near future as well. But that's the frustrating part, is we're not seeing that change yet. On that note, we know last week they had another protest in Ferguson. A couple of police officers got shot. They made an arrest this week of a young man, and unfortunately, the lawyer of that young man is now saying he got beat by the cops when he got arrested.
Not surprised.
It isn't surprising, but come on, man, come on. Where is the integrity here, man? Where is the integrity?
Well, I would, in this case, I'm going to defend the officers.
What?
Because if I'm a police officer and I think you shot one of my fellow officers and I caught you, I would probably beat you down too. Just to be honest with you.
That's sad.
I feel like that would happen in any instance, though,
exactly.
too.
If somebody shot one of your homeboys and y'all caught him, you're going to beat him down.
I'm saying, but we know all the police officers that shot these black males in the past, and, most likely they know where they at, and don't nobody going to find them and going to beat them down.
They may not, but if you caught them and you had the opportunity, I'm sure most people would beat them down.
And he's pleading not guilty?
Well, no, actually what he
said he wasn't shooting at
what he's saying, he wasn't
police.
actually shooting at the police. He was shooting at somebody else, and then those bullets, stray bullets.
I would say, well, whoever his lawyer is, he needs to be advertised. Because when you're talking about just brilliant, I mean, because when you're talking about working the stereotypes, man, I wasn't shooting at them, man. It was this dude from the other day. I saw him. Hey, man, I just clicked. I can't even. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what his lawyer's job is to do.
Exactly.
To defend his client.
That man need to be, a woman need to be advertising.
Definitely.
I completely agree.
So, well, first of all, he needs to advertise if the defense actually works. That's the key. Not that you put it up. You can put up 1,000 defenses, but will it work? Will he properly defend himself and not get the book thrown at him because he shot police officers, but a smaller book thrown at him because he accidentally hit a police officer?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be a smaller anything, especially with the climate of the people there, the energy that they're feeling, all that has been happening over the past months or even year now that we're leading into. This is a very serious issue, and it's hard to believe that he was shooting at someone behind or next to the police.
I mean, I thought it was on the prosecution to prove that he did it. That's how I thought it was.
It is.
That's how it's supposed to be.
But that ain't how it going.
I would say this.
He's admitted to shooting. He's just saying he didn't purposely shoot them. But he's admitted to the shooting.
Right.
So is he?
That's why they only charged him with aggravated assault.
Right. He's admitted to the shooting. He said it was him that shot. Because I think they found, if I remember in the article, they actually found the gun that that shot the bullets at his house. So,
correct.
So he's not denying he shot a gun. He's just denying his intended target was the police. That's what he's denying.
And getting beat by the police is not who you want to get beat by.
So.
Oh no,
that is the last. And you probably was in your cell. Wow. Bubba came to visit you. Wow.
All that.
My goodness. They gave him the real treatment.
They gave him I've seen Sons of Anarchy, so I know how it goes.
Sons of Anarchy. Y'all forgot about Oz.
Oh, yes. Man.
You don't need sons when you got Oz, man. But, yeah, man, just a couple of quick stories. Go ahead and talk to me, Jasmine. What you got to women in politics?
Where do you want to start? We talked about a lot of things.
Let's start with some of those races you told me about.
Okay, well, this year is definitely the year of the woman or female voter, female candidate. Everyone is going to jump onto the opportunity to be a woman in politics and run for office in any form or fashion, and I don't blame them whatsoever. I think that people are going to pour money into races more than ever because they are going to target women over the next 2 years going into the 2016 presidential race, because we know that there is a very strong potential that we will have a female candidate lead the Democratic ticket, and we're still waiting to see we're not waiting to see who will lead the Republican ticket. I think we're just waiting to see who's going to actually make that decision to run. But it definitely won't be a female leading that ticket. I have that feeling. But everyone's going to be targeting
I haven't even heard
a woman.
A female that's thinking about running on that side, though.
Well, there's always, in any presidential election, there are always a lot of people who run and, filed to run for president. Like here in Florida, I think we had 10 or 11 people when President Barack Obama ran in 2012. So, different parties, things of that nature. But none of them, of course, are going to be leading at all. So you have, as of this particular month, Women's History Month, Donna Edwards, state representative out of Maryland, has decided to run for Senate. that seems to be a trend that's happening throughout the nation. First, we announced, I think the last time I was here, we talked about Kamala Harris out of California running for California Senate and talking about her possible opponents. At the time, there was no one. And since then, one individual has jumped into the race, and not the person that I thought was going to run against her, but instead a Republican gentleman, Hispanic descent. He has thrown his name into the race, and it's still early there in California. There's still opportunity and room for someone else to come in and run, but so far she is the front runner for that particular seat. It's a Democratic district. She's taking over for a Democratic candidate, also a woman, so we'll see how that goes. And she's an African-American woman. She's Asian and African-American. That's a fun fact I just found out recently. So that's a really cool thing to learn. And we will see how that pans out. Some people I've spoken to say that if other individuals get into the race, she may not be the front runner. Others say that right now she's got great donors like Emily's List behind her, who usually fund candidates who run for Congress, female candidates who are pro-choice and run for Congress. So that's good to know. But again, it's still so early that anyone could jump in, raise millions upon millions of dollars, and blow her completely out of the water. But we are going to remain hopeful and see how it all turns out and pans out for her over the next few months, or year rather. And then again, like I stated, Donna Edwards, she's also taking over for a woman in Maryland, is also running for a Senate seat. She'll be the, if she wins, she'll be the, I think, second African-American to hold a congressional seat in the entire congressional Senate. So that'll be amazing. And if Kamala wins, then she won't be up there alone. So it's definitely been an exciting year, and not just being a woman, but being an African American woman in politics. I think that African American women are definitely coming to the forefront, are putting their names out there in ways that we haven't seen before. Even if I have only shared with you two, that's still a lot for African American women nationwide.
What's happening locally? Anything happening locally we should be paying attention to? Locally,
I can't think of anything. Right now, we don't have a lot of races that are happening here in Florida, because it's also still early here too. So there isn't much that's happening. We're going to have city council seats up next spring. So not this coming, but 2016 spring. But there's not really much movement taking place here in Florida right now. I think everyone's sitting around waiting to see what Hillary does. However, actually, on the state level, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she was someone, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She is the Democratic National Committee chairwoman. She is a Hispanic woman from South Florida.
Is she Hispanic, really?
I think she's Hispanic.
She doesn't look Hispanic. I'll give her that.
Yeah. I think she's Hispanic.
Her name is Debbie
Wasserman Schultz.
That don't sound Hispanic either.
She's a married woman.
Married to a white man, so.
Oh, well, Schultz is kind of Jewish, I think, right?
Her husband could be Jewish. She could be Jewish.
So
she could be Hispanic.
Is she Hispanic or Jewish now?
No, well, really. She could have converted. Her husband could be.
We're going to put other.
But she's a really, really great woman. She had a little bumpy road patch, if you will, in 2014. Not necessarily running for office, but her opposition towards medical marijuana and John Morgan, who was just not happy with some of the pushback and statements she made about her apprehension to legalize it here in Florida. Once he, caught wind of the pushback that she was making on a national level about legalizing it here in the state of Florida, he kind of made some inflammatory statements towards her, stated that he wasn't going to fund some, major races in our state, or he wasn't going to do anything that would help move the party forward as long as she is the chairwoman. So then we roll around to 2015. There is some whisper and some chatter about her possibly running for Senate. She finally announced this week and stated, nope, she's running for re-election of her congressional seats. She wants to stay there. There was also a little bit of a rumor or noise about Charlie Crist possibly running for a Senate seat. He laid that to rest and said there's no no such thing. He's not running. Of course, that's a thought. Thinking of your political future possibilities, there's always an option there.
I'm sure he's thinking once Scott is done, the road back to governorship is his.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's what he's thinking either.
No?
Nope. I think, and the reason I say that is because I see here in the state of Florida that there are already some individuals who are leading the pack for possibly being Democratic frontrunners, new, fresh-faced individuals who are trying to make statewide names for themselves right now. So I don't think that Charlie is going to necessarily take that leap. But that doesn't mean he won't do anything. He just may not take that leap as governor.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. We'll see. And there could be other opportunities that come along. We're going to wait and see what where his trajectory lands him and what he plans to do. Gotcha. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, as far as Charlie Crist is concerned, I say keep collecting the checks and have a nice day. But
From Morgan & Morgan?
From Morgan & Morgan. I'm sure the checks are nice, man. Yeah. I'm sure those are some good checks as far as he's concerned. But other than that, I'm like you. I'm kind of just waiting to see where this thing goes when it comes to especially women in politics. Obviously, the biggest thing right now is everybody's waiting to hear Hillary for Hillary to confirm that she's going to run for president, and then to see what her potential what's the word I'm looking for? Running mate, but other candidates.
Who her opponents will be.
Who her opponents will be for the Democratic seats. So, I mean, because you got, speaking of women, they're talking about Elizabeth Warren.
Absolutely.
Potentially also stepping into the race, and the lame duck candidate, Joe Biden, maybe even getting into the race.
I just don't see that happening. I heard some rumors. I don't see that happening.
But yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see things play out. Like you talked about, it would be great to see some black women make it into the U.S. Senate. That would be awesome if that can come to fruition as well. But we're right around the corner. It's what are we in March of 2015? I'm sure by August we will know everything that's happening, and it will be bombarded on top of our faces.
Hopefully we know sooner than that. Hopefully we know sooner than August. But I will, just to circle back, Elizabeth Warren, who could be a possible opponent and run, I know that they are strongly encouraging her to run. And I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and we talked about the parallels of Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren. And you have two women, one who is a woman who has had wealth pretty much a majority of her life, and that Hillary Clinton. And then you have Elizabeth Warren, who was a woman who was married, husband left her with 3 kids. She figured out how to build, she left her on, government assistance, figured out how to build herself up to the woman that she is now, heading different agencies in our United States government. And people wonder and think, well, which one is the more palatable candidate that I would, I would be able to relate to. And despite what you feel like you can relate to, it is who our institution is going to prop up, support, and push out in front of us. Well, it's the way of the land.
I would be highly surprised at this stage of the game if they do not prop up Hillary. That would surprise me.
It would surprise a lot of us.
That would surprise me. I think you're thinking, I didn't know that about Elizabeth Warren. I certainly didn't know her story. I mean, certainly her story, I think, would capture the hearts and minds of women more, if that's her story. But just because Clinton at this point is a sort of that staple, so she's no longer, even though, because did she come from meager beginnings, or was she born into money? I thought they kind of worked their way up into the money. I mean, obviously in the last 15, 20 years. I think
during that time she was in a raised in a middle class sort of situation. Okay. Oh. There was no such thing as a working class back then, whereas Elizabeth Warren was probably someone who fit that working class.
Gotcha. So it's from a relatable point. I think her story is great. But I think at this stage of the game, since it's all about a machine, I'd be surprised if the machine doesn't go with the machine.
Absolutely.
It'd be very surprising if the machine doesn't support the machine, especially after they let the machine down 8 years ago. So
Yeah.
I'm sure the machine is letting them know how much they owe her.
Well, yes, owe her, and you are correct. But she did a lot of, I think personally, and people disagree with the statement, that she put the necessary pieces in place to get her to the point that she is now, where she's ready to make a second run, possibly for office. And that is, working in the president's cabinet. Some may think that it's nepotism, and how can you be, a former president's wife and decide, okay, this is something I want to do because I was the first lady and I sat in on a few meetings. Some people may think that, but she was a senator. People say, well, she didn't run for that. She was appointed senator. So, there are so many arguments people are going to have about her, against her, for her. And if you like Bill, then there's no way that you're not going to like Hillary.
Right.
They certainly are cohesive in decision making, that's for sure.
I got one question for you. What do you think about the quote unquote email scandal that she's embroiled in right now? You think is it a scandal, or is it just?
I don't classify it as a scandal.
Me neither. I'm
because
glad you said that.
I work with people who, just older individuals who just can't maintain that many, email accounts. That was really my thinking of it all. But then you have paid staff who are supposed to handle those things and get you on the right track to do whatever it is that you need to do. She stated when it was time for those emails to be released, she asked, release them, put them out there to the public. I'm okay with you all sharing this information. But then the argument goes back to, well, people died on your watch. There was classified information that we felt like we could have been probing or looking at in your emails that we weren't able to because they were all funneled through your private email account. Now we've got to go back and look at everything and see if we missed anything. They're looking and making sure that there's no stone unturned. It's a lot. They're doing a lot. People are just doing a lot, and I think it's not necessary. Release the emails, find what you think you need to find, but I don't classify it as a scandal. I don't.
Gotcha.
And I think at this point also, anything that people can find or hold on to, they know she's getting ready to probably announce, they're going to put out there. I also think, though, this may not have been a bad idea. We kind of hadn't heard too much about Hillary lately until this email scandal sort of happened. Yeah. When she initially announced the Ready for Hillary race 2 years ago, it was in the middle or towards the end of a presidential campaign. It was funneled into what the president had going on. She wasn't going to outpower him in media coverage. So now that she is reemerged, and unfortunately these emails are what has placed her at the top of our news feeds every single day, I don't think it's that bad of a thing.
Well, any publicity is good publicity, so.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You say she's not an entertainer.
Yes, she's not an entertainer.
One last question for you.
Okay.
The other big thing, at least I listen to a lot of conservative talk radio, and in the last 2 days, because about 2 or 3 days, the president has been getting slammed due to what's happening in Israel, and so you got a lot of people saying. One, they say that he doesn't like Netanyahu. I think I said that right. Mm-hmm. Benjamin Netanyahu. And so, they were talking today because they said he obviously won re-election in his country, but they were saying how he, as far as they knew, the president hadn't called him yet to congratulate him. They're also accusing the president of actually sending one of his former top aides to his campaign over to Israel to head up a campaign for the lead contender to Benjamin Netanyahu. And so they just, like I said, they're just running him through the ring. I know one particular host spent the last 2 days pretty much 6 hours discussing about the president's hate for Benjamin Netanyahu and how much how much lack of respect he has for Israel, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that, though, Ms. Burney?
I think it's a slow news week, month, what have you. I don't think that anyone should spend 6 hours talking about something such as that. I don't think it's that serious. The man won re-election. It's perfect. All is well in the world. It's fine. I don't think that that's something that anyone should invest that much time in. And I think that our president has a lot more pressing issues on his plate than this man's re-election.
He does.
Well, let me ask you this, along that line. And if he did, what's wrong with that? I mean, how don't we send people?
It's not presidential.
I mean, right. We may not send, our political people over to help other people run against people we don't like, but we send military. We send military to train the other people's military. So what's the problem?
Because I think tact. Right?
But like
what's about tact?
Well,
right?
like it's
Yeah.
slow news
tacky.
week. Slow news week.
That's tacky to send someone, allegedly, send someone who is close to your campaign over to another country who, and again, as the point that they make is obviously Israel is an ally of ours. So whomever is in office over there, theoretically, right, we're supposed to be supporting them. They're an ally. We send them a couple $2 billion a year. so it's tacky if he, assuming what they say is true, if he did send someone over there to go against that particular guy, and whose philosophy is completely different too as well. Especially after Benjamin Netanyahu was over here speaking to Congress and in some people's minds anyway, berating the president about his handling of the Iran situation as well. So it's just kind of tacky. One last thing here. Speaking of women, Loretta Lynch, obviously her confirmation is being held up in the Senate right now. I was thinking today, because I know what they said this week is there was another bill that's being held up, some kind of I think a sexual abuse or something like that. I can't remember the bill, but there's another bill that supposedly that is being holding up her hearing on being either confirmed or not by the Senate. And I had to chuckle a little bit because the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if you watch Scandal, but there's a few people that do. But it brought to mind a scene that I believe that happened last week too, where obviously her confirmation is obviously tied to the president, and Republicans who control the Senate right now do not like the president. And so I had to laugh because I thought maybe this is an Olivia Pope moment where he needs to go have a meeting, which is what they did in the last episode.
And actually, this isn't even a Scandal moment. This is a House of Cards moment. It's an entirely different television series, okay? Because, number one, everyone has been talking about this Loretta Lynch situation. It has taken her 3 times as long as some of the individuals who have been confirmed for appointments have been taken. So yes, she's an African American woman. She's a woman. She is a Democrat. She is tied to and connected to the president. These are all reasons why someone would want to hold up her confirmation. And so far, it's been 130 days. She's had to answer 900 questions, and she's got 30 years of experience. And there is zero reason why she is not being confirmed for this Senate seat. Zero reasons on her behalf why. But I can understand why Republicans feel like this is not the best move for them. They even confirmed, what's his name? Eric Holder much sooner than they have Loretta Lynch. But we also had a little less Republican stronghold at that particular time. Yeah. So I think that it is a very sickening situation to sort of be in, especially for her. And then for our country. This is an extremely important seat that we need to have someone lead and take over, especially with all of the issues that we have going on in this nation. Not to say that anything is being neglected or ignored, but this is one of the most important seats to have filled, and in our entire Congress feels like it's not necessary to confirm this leader. Loretta Lynch is clearly qualified to do the job, and I don't know why it's taking so long for them to confirm her, other than their personal feelings.
A lot of people are saying that it has to do with the fact that obviously the immigration issue is a big issue right now. The president's immigration executive order that he signed, and so a lot of arguments are being made from on the Republican side that it would be outrageous for any Republican to vote her to vote positive for her nomination, being the fact that she doesn't see anything wrong with what they believe to be an illegal move by the president. And so it's, it goes back. Well, if the top law enforcement, if you will, doesn't see anything wrong with the president, well, who's going to actually check him?
Right. So, those checks and balances.
So there's a lot of that going on, at least on the Republican side. But But at the end of the day, we all know she's going to get confirmed because the last count that they were talking about was basically a 50-50 split, which means that Vice President Joe Biden was going to have to break the tie, and we know how that's going to go.
Right.
At least we assume, anyway.
Oh, well, yeah, there's no question about it. Or
Hopefully Joe will ride for it.
Right. Right. I don't think that we have any worries related to that. But the key thing also is that we as citizens who vote in our congressional members and in these congressional districts contact our senators and ask them to confirm her, ask questions, talk to them, strongly encourage that something be done because this seat needs to be filled. That's what a lot of people are asking individuals to do. Contact their senators to get her confirmed immediately because this is another blatant attack on the president.
Got it. All right, man. I was just sitting here thinking as we were talking. I want to thank you, man. If you're listening to the program tonight and not watching Empire, I really do appreciate
it. You are a fan. That's the only thing you can say.
I am a fan
because I'm trying to be active with the show on social media and stuff keep popping up, and I'm trying not to look at it.
Yes. So thank you for that. We're going to keep it moving. We're talking about women here. And the other topic we wanted to get into, 407-894-1680, 407-894-1680 was feminism. Feminism and as it relates to black women as well. The first thing I wanted to do, because I know what feminism is, but I looked it up. I said, well, let me see what the definition for feminism is actually. And so before I got into the discussion, I said I was going to read the definition here, and as internet goes, my tab for the definition has seemed to disappear on me.
Of course it has.
Because I was looking for it. That's how it goes, right? But feminism and black women. I know there's a lot of people say the two are completely different topics. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, as the woman here tonight, are they two completely topics? Feminism, black women, is that something that goes together, or is that two separate issues that one has to deal with?
So let me start with saying that feminism is simply the social, economical, and political equality of women to men in this nation and how we are represented equitably in those sorts of arenas. And some women may also take it a little step further and say that feminism is the ability to do things without the necessity of men present. That is also another way that do things politically, socially, and economically without the presence of men. So is there a difference between feminism and black women? Is that what the question was?
Right. Are the issues related to black women and the issues related to a feminist, are they the same? Are they different? They're
the same. However,
that's what I was waiting for.
They're the same. I was going to say in some instances I consider myself a feminist, but it's either all or nothing, to be honest. And I truly believe that I should be equitably represented in all of those fields. I think that African American women would also agree that they would like to be equitably represented in all of those fields. However, as African American women are represented in the feminism movement as a whole, may not be as to the forefront, may not be as illuminated as that of white women. But that could be because of who our leading voices are on this particular issue, and they're not always that of African American women. When we hear feminism, people try to paint Beyonce as the feminist or Nicki Minaj as a feminist. Wow. Those are individuals that those are individuals that they have laminated.
Let's stop right there.
Okay.
How is Beyonce
please.
a feminist?
Well, she did an entire concert for MTV, and during the middle of the concert, she had the word feminist, blaring in the background.
But does that make her a feminist?
But that is her declaring that she is a feminist to the world. That's her declaring herself as a feminist. And I've heard her in a statement say that she believes she should be equitably represented in all instances and on the same level as any man.
Well, would you recognize Beyonce as a feminist?
I would say as she's a woman in the music industry who's had to start somewhere. There is a process by which I assume everyone has to go through in the music industry. I will say that. And there may be some instances where she may feel as though, why is this funny? I'm confused. There may be some instances where she may have felt at particular times that she wasn't equitably represented, or that she did not feel equal to a man in certain ways. She's made money and is now on a platform that she can uplift, prop up, and make the claim that she believes that she's a feminist and believes that all women should rise to that same occasion.
Okay.
Should work hard, should do their best, and reach that peak. Go ahead.
So I'm going to say you don't there, right?
See, why would you say that?
That is why I'm laughing, because you never said yes
or no.
You gave the answer like, I would say this. See, now once you said that, that's like one of the things like, well, you know what happened was.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, like I said, I apologize.
I'm saying that she is not the best example.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying. She is not the best example that I think people should portray to us, but she is an African American woman. She is well known. She is a celebrity, and that is who individuals who lead this movement like to say that, well, of course you're represented. You have Beyonce. And so no, that's not the case for a lot of women. Yes, we have Beyonce because her music is amazing, not because she speaks on behalf of my issues politically.
Right. Because she doesn't speak on behalf of any issues politically.
No, she doesn't.
No, but you know, again,
is her music really that amazing? I'm sorry, that's a whole nother
no,
show.
It's not. We won't do that tonight.
That's a whole nother show.
It's a whole nother topic.
I'm sorry, we touched on that. Was that last week?
That was last week.
Okay.
Oh, y'all talked about it.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and listen.
Because she doesn't have a sweet home, Alabama.
Oh, the article. Okay, no, we're not going into that. No. We're not getting to that.
So a lot of the issues when it comes to black women are the representation of who our feminists are.
Who our voices are. Who our black feminist voices are.
Okay.
I think we need to just hone in and find more of those to speak just a little bit louder, not necessarily speak up, but just speak, a little bit louder, bring more of the African American woman's point of view into the whole fold of feminism. But I think that's the case in a lot of different issues, not just feminism, but politics.
I think you can say the same thing about equal pay. Right?
Absolutely. African American women are paid less than white women. Hispanic women are paid less than African American women. It's a matter of speaking up and our place in this sort of ecosystem, if you will.
Right. Which is, going back, I remember a few weeks ago during the Oscars, and Patricia Arquette was talking about feminism and how, I guess at least the way that it was portrayed anyway, is the fact that she thought that all of these other groups need to come back and now help white women sort of attain some of their equal rights, because white women have been fighting for others' equal rights for years, and so now it's time for people to come back and help fight for their equal rights. I mean, when you think about a statement like that, it's interesting that that she would say something suggesting that no one is still fighting for, we'll say white women, but I think when most people these days, when they're fighting for women in general. They're not necessarily trying to single out a particular race or a particular culture. And so that's what a lot of people, took amends to what she said, because she was trying to talk about how white women were somehow being left out of the conversation when truth be told, I mean, regardless of what people say, they're still going to be the face because we live in America.
Correct.
So.
They're leading this fight for feminism. They're not being left out of the conversation. They're the ones who are narrating it. They're the ones who are writing and authoring it, and actually, in some instances, handing over to black leaders the talking points for it. So I understand her interest in almost saying, we've got gay rights and you all have made such strides in getting gay marriage across the board. Well, these are new sorts or new types of boundaries that are being leaped over, if you will. The women's suffrage movement was a boundary at that particular time that had to take place. Because she may feel like a moment like that hasn't happened in recent history, that we need to get back to that point.
Well, with that being said, though, when we talk about women's issues, so gender pay gap, let's take that off the table. What feminist movement is lacking that we need to see more of, would you say?
More women in politics, more women running for office, to be quite honest. There are not a lot of women represented in our congressional fields, in our statewide elected positions.
Now, is that due to a ceiling being placed on what they're allowed to do, or is that due to not enough people stepping up?
I would probably say that it's a combination of things. Districts have a lot to do with it. I'll let you in on a secret. A lot of times when people are looking at particular districts for people to run in, they look at there's a profile based on the people who live in that district. And if the candidate that has an interest in running in that field doesn't fit that particular profile, whether it's race, gender, income, then they are not going to be expected to run. They are not going to be propped up. They are not going to be encouraged to run. And then you have groups of people who are just not being asked. And women are not always being asked. And if they are, it's because a small group of people have said, okay, we see potential in you. We see an opportunity. Let's ask you to run for this particular office or this seat. Let's ask you to step up. Also, women's reproductive rights are being threatened every single day. We are child bearers, not men. Right. And men are the ones who are making decisions on how our bodies should produce children. And if you all are making those decisions and you've never bore a child, then how is it that you were able to tell me what I should and shouldn't do with my body? Or how are you able to tell me whether I can or cannot have an abortion, or whether I should or should not receive contraception, or what my decisions are as it relates to family planning?
I definitely agree with that.
There's a lack of representation there too.
I agree. We spend way too much time talking about, to me, abortions. I don't really understand why abortions are still an issue every election cycle. To me, I mean, it is what it is. But it seems like, because to me, I mean, at the end of the day, like you say, women have the right to choose what they want to do. Unfortunately, though, it always, gets propped up, and you have to make a statement whether or not you agree with it or disagree with it. And so then it becomes a part of the cycle all over again, and now you have to be vetted one way or another. But I agree with you. Discussing abortion at this stage of the game, I mean, the law is in place. It's not going to change. So
nope, that's not the case. Here in the state of Florida, the law for abortions has been changing. And that is the issue. It comes up during our legislative period. So not just the reason it keeps coming up during election is because it keeps coming up when legislators get to Tallahassee and start making laws. So even in the past 4 years, our legislature implemented an ultrasound law that requires a woman to listen to the heartbeat of her baby before having an abortion. These are things, intimidating factors that these men are doing and creating issues for women to choose what they have a right to do or not do with their bodies. So yes, it is still an issue that comes up every single legislative year.
Gotcha. Okay. Now going back to you made a comment about some of our black legislators and how that a lot of times they take their talking points from white women who are leading in this feminist movement. Mm-hmm. I find that odd because you would think the black legislator, right, would seek the counsel of wise black women or somebody, a black woman at some point to find out what it is or what isn't that particular population that they're probably representing is thinking. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that I guess it's not surprising, but it is interesting that they're not always seeking out those types of resources.
To the credit of black legislators or black elected officials, they don't always only represent African Americans, even if their district is a majority African American. They represent all the women and all the men, all the children. Right. Race isn't something that they always necessarily look to when making decisions. So they use general studies from organizations and groups who have already done the research, who have already done the work, who have already done the focus groups, collect that data and use that data to determine what their moves or decisions will be. And then also what their party recommends that they do. If the direction your party goes, a lot of times our black elected to go in that same direction.
But the reason why I say that is, you know, for myself, I mean, and I can only speak for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I mean, as black people, we all know what the challenges are when it comes to certain sectors of the population when we're trying to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, you know, I'm sure if you ask them, they'd be the first to tell you that we aren't properly represented. So I know that would more than likely be the answer they gave you if you talk to them directly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that even though they know the answer, that they wouldn't take the advice or at least seek out the advice, because a lot of times it's not going to be what's presented to them, so they'll have to seek it out. So it's interesting that they don't seek it out when they already know that's a door that, but maybe we'll say maybe that door is being closed, or maybe it's just not being pursued. But I mean, you know the situation, so why not, you know, go after that? I think because at the end of the day, it's up to us to go out and find the people that can competently do the job that we typically find other people to do.
You're absolutely correct. And the easiest, most economical way of doing this is to have a community forum of some sort. You know, huddle these communities of people together and let's see what the community cares about, what they think, what they want to do. There isn't enough representation in those rooms to look at what the entire district cares about, because we're not showing up. We're not going to community forums. We're not, you know, going to the churches to talk about this or to talk about that or women's rights or things of that nature. So, but there are focus groups that cost money, or there are studies that people pay firms for to go out and gather this information. And if we want to get that from people who we represent in our African American districts, we've got to put out a little bit of energy, a little bit more effort, a little bit more time to really seriously and thoroughly seek out that information and survey our communities to find out what are the priorities, what are the issues that we truly care about. I know that there is a group out of DC who did a study on African American women throughout the entire nation and what the numbers were and how we were represented in our local, state, and congressional levels. They went back to almost 82 or 4 when the first African-American woman was elected to congressional office. And then from there, they did the study up until 2014 and just gathered a lot of information. It took them quite a bit of time to raise the funds to even conduct the study. But they were able to do that, produce the information, and literally that study is like gold. I use it for everything, and I see it referenced in all sorts of articles throughout the nation because someone took the time to raise the money and produce that information for people.
Gotcha. Now, speaking, so some of the organizations or some of the, I should say, companies aren't in place, perhaps, too. So is that an opportunity, perhaps, for women to look into that? Maybe you're not trying to be the candidate, but maybe you're trying to help sort of influence what the policy is. So those are opportunities that perhaps exist. If what are we talking about? It's like starting some type of consulting firm?
You would start an organization similar to the one I've started, Chicks in Politics. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to talk about it. So I think that would, starting and encouraging a group of individuals to think far beyond where they currently are. You know that you care about politics or political issues or policy, or there's one issue that you care about and you have no idea how to move it or how to talk to someone or how to mobilize or organize around it. You join a group of individuals who have that ability and access to train you, teach you, connect you, and place you with those people who can help you push whatever the agenda is further. Because we don't want to create any more organizations that are already out there. And my organization here in Florida is I can't pick up the phone and call anyone to ask them, how do I push something forward? Unless it is a all white led organization. And at that time, they only have a piece that they're covering. And right now, that piece is police brutality. That's a very serious issue, but that's not the only issue I care about. That's not the only issue my girlfriends care about. That's not the only issue my grandmother and my mother care about right now. There are a number of different issues that we can help organize people around or direct them to resources. So it's a one-stop shop that then pushes people out to say, education is your thing, let's connect you with all of the education folks that we can possibly connect you with locally and statewide, nationally. Here are trainings, here are institutions, here are things that you can do to help whatever it is that you want to do because you just want to be involved. And I think that also empowers people. It shows them that they have the ability to do more than what's happening in their little close group of people. And then that could also potentially lead them to want to run for office one day because they've now been empowered, they've been trained, they've been educated, they've had a little bit of access. All right, I think I can probably run for office, or I can probably do this. You know, that then creates a pipeline or cycle for more representation.
Gotcha. Now, is that something you think? So, like you said, you have an organization that's working towards that. Is that something you think more people should begin to do? Is start these organizations, or it should be more of a let's find out what's out there, let's support that, and then as that progresses, then move out beyond where we are. Let's
find the organizations and support them. Attach yourself to them. Don't create anything else. There's so many things that are going on that I don't think we need anything else. Save the time, the money, and the resource, and attach yourself onto them. And in these organizations and groups, you will be given that access to lead.
Gotcha. Now tell me again the name of your organization.
Chicks in Politics. So it's CHICK or CHIKS, the letter N, and then politics.
Bonics in there.
All right. And how do they find you on Facebook and Twitter?
Type in Chicks in Politics on your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right, man. We want to thank you all for listening today. This is your host, Jay Real. This is Real Family Talk. We'll be back next week, same time, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. WOKB 1680 AM, your urban empowerment and inspiration station.
My brother,
Thank you for listening to Real Family Talk. This is one of your co-hosts, Jeremy, a.k.a. Younger Brother. Tune in next week from 9 to 10 p.m. and every Wednesday from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOKB 1680, your urban empowerment and inspiration station. See you.
My brother, my brother.
You're listening to 1680 WOKB AM, Winter Garden, Florida.